Hi everyone, welcome back to the Holding. So today I've got a little bit of a project I'm starting. I've got this old polytunnel. I've actually got two of these. I've got one over on the gravel area over to the side there. This one I've had now, this is probably its 7th year. I've used it for tomatoes and things like that, but because I've got no power down here, I can't really heat them with paraffin heaters and propane heaters. I have tried in the past, but it just, because they're not proper polytunnels, they've got these silly sort of windows. They're cheap, sort of made in China things. They're not airtight, and they cost a fortune to even try and raise the temperature just a couple of degrees. So I've kind of given up with them, and this one had a bit of a battering in Storm Eustace. Was that last year? Can't remember now, but when we had that Storm Eustace, it just tore this apart a little bit. So anyway, I'm gonna move it. I'm gonna take the cover off, cut that off. I've got a friend of mine turning up in about half an hour, so I'm gonna quickly clear the area I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna take it into the veg garden, and I'm gonna use just the frame with some sheep netting that I will cable tie on the sides all the way over, and I'm gonna have it as a runner bean, climbing bean, any sort of climbing beans, things like that I want to grow. I'm gonna have it as an archway that I can grow whatever beans I want to either side, and they'll climb up and over the arch. So just sort of changing the use of it a little bit really. All the nuts and bolts have kind of rusted together, so we're going to try and move it as one solid unit. It's not particularly heavy because it's not the thickest steel in the world, so we're going to try and roll it over so it's an upturned U and see if we can lift it that way. So it'll be a bit of fun, be a bit like the Chuckle Brothers, I reckon, to me, to you, but I'm sure we'll get it done. And I'm just going to nip over now, clear the area. I'll show you actually where I'm going to put it, but this is another little project for the next few days, just to get ready for spring. So let's go and have a look. So this is the area where I'm going to put it. I've got to move all these old pots, lots of bits and bobs here that I've just got to move back. It's 6 meters long by 3, so it should come to probably about where I am now. So that'll still leave me enough room. On this plastic as well, I sort of grow my trees and my hedging that I sell a little bit online. So I'm just going to use up about this much, probably about a third of the space that I've got left. So I just need to clear all these old pots off of, these are the dead Polonia that I need to get rid of. I'm going to clear all this off and get prepared. I need to crack on now because my mate will be turning up in a minute. So this is the basic idea. This sits in here. It's about just not quite as wide as the beds at the bottom. I'd leave enough, there's enough room for a good path there to get the wheelbarrow down, and I've left just enough room to sneak down that side so I can plant the beans when I come to use it. I may actually plant the beans along the inside. I'm not sure whether to leave this shelf on there or not. I thought it might come in handy for putting a few pots on that I need to keep out of reach of mice, things like broad beans, stuff like that. It's always handy if you can keep them out of reach of mice. But I'll have a think. It's only on by some wires. I got this out of an old out of a skip. I'm always skip diving, and I just wired it up but I'll decide whether to leave that on or not. But this is the basic plan. So I'm going to wood chip all around this. I will leave probably a foot wide each side to put compost to plant the beans into, to give them a good start. But all inside and round the outside will be chipped to keep the moisture in and that. And this will be my walk through bean arch. So it's about, what is it, about 7 foot tall, I think, in the middle, something like that. I was thinking of raising it up on blocks, but actually I think it's going to be fine just as it is. It'd be nice and easy to, too high, and it'd be harder to pick the beans. So for the netting, for the side of the archway, I'm using basically what is stock fencing, galvanised steel stock fencing. That's 3 rows that I put on there, 1, 2, and the third row comes to about 15 inches from the centre bar. So I've got to do 3 rows the other side. I'll probably do a row across the middle just to completely enclose the whole archway, although it possibly doesn't need it, but I'll probably do it. I've just attached it with cable ties for now. I've just wrapped the ends round. I've cut the ends with the bolt croppers and wrapped them round so that there's no sticking out bits for me to stab myself on, or when my sister's kids and things come down here that they can't stab themselves on a sharp bit of wire. So I've wrapped them round, I've cable tied it on just to hold it in place, and I've got some 2mm galvanised steel wire. So I'll come back and I'll put a few ties all over it and just twist them up nice and tight so that it's permanently attached. So this will give the beans a perfect mesh to climb up. It'll never rust, or it'll take a long time anyway before it rusts. And obviously along the bottom, because it's evenly spaced squares, I can plant evenly spaced and get the planting distances all sort of the same as well. So I've just got to do the other side, get the compost in. I'm going to put probably about sort of 6 or 8 inches of compost either side, inside and outside, just to create a nice bed, because it'll be no dig, the same as everything else. And then the inside will be wood chipped. What I might actually do is plant some squashes, sort of just on the edges of the arch, just inside, and let them sort of grow out and sort of through the bottom of the beans. Obviously the beans will cast shade to anything inside midsummer, but if I plant them just on the edges, because I'm south facing, so the sun will come straight up and over, they should get enough sun. I'm hoping that I could maybe do that with squashes, but we'll see anyway. And I've got all my strawberry pots and things that I might have to put a bit either side. But yeah, I'm going to get this all finished, and then it'll be on to the chipping and the compost then. So that is now completely wired right over the top. I did go right over and do the top 2. So that's looking from the inside, looking up, completely wired right over and all the way down. I've just got to put a few more ties on, some wire, twist some wire on instead of cable ties, just so that it's a bit more permanent, because I think cable ties will probably perish in the sun over the next year or 2, so I'll wire most of it on. I've just put a few cable ties here and there just to sort of hold it in place. So I have decided what I'm going to do is just put the compost on the insides, like a little footbed on the insides, and then just wood chip up to the outside, on this side and on this side. I just think it'd be easier to just plant the beans from the inside of the archway, rather than the outside. It just means I can, rather than having beans and a little bed on the outside here, it means I've left just enough room to be able to sort of side step down there and pick the beans, rather than having them actually planted that side and in my way. And it just gives me a bit more room that side with the walkway. So yeah, that's the next job. I'm going to crack on now with the wood chipping and the compost. that's pretty much all finished now, wood chipped, and the compost beds in. The beds are probably nearly 18 inches across, a little bit bigger than I needed really, but all I'm thinking is, you know, I'll put the beans just out from the edge and train them up. It just gives me a little bit of room in the front of the bed that I could perhaps put some early lettuce, things like this, some radish, maybe some strawberries, I don't know, anything that I can think of before it gets too shaded, with the climbing beans coming right up and over. In the summer the sun is literally almost directly down, so you'll get some light in here anyway, so it might be okay for some salad crops, things like that. But yeah, so it's all done. So my plan for this year with my climbing beans, things always change. I might see other beans that take me fancy, but at the moment I've got some blotti beans, which are for the dry beans. So you grow them and you harvest them for the dry beans at the end of the summer. And I've got some Tsar runner beans, which you can eat the green pods like normal runners as they grow, but if you let them go to seed and you pod them and collect the beans, they're the pure white butter beans, the big fat butter beans. So my sort of plan with my runners, I'll probably put some climbing French beans up here too. I've got a few seeds left in a couple of different packs, I think, of climbing beans, but I do want to try and get more into growing the beans for drying and for storing in, you know, in kilner jars to use in soups and stews, things like that through the winter. That's something I sort of want to try and do a bit more. So yeah, that's the plan for this year. Bolotto and Tsar beans, pretty much one side for each, I should imagine. Maybe a couple of other things chucked in just for a bit of interest. But yeah, another little project done. And it's nice to get these things done. It's not too long now until planting time. I mean, we're mid-February, it's Valentine's Day tomorrow. So to be honest, before I put any beans in it, it is going to be a good probably 3 months for me. I expect mid-May, because otherwise, you know, I get a late frost, I'll just lose everything. So it's a little while yet, but it gives everything a chance to settle in and start to sort of break down and that, and you know, become the sort of no dig that I want it to be. Anyway, if you're enjoying the channel, please remember to like and subscribe. It just helps the channel to grow. I've got lots more planned, all sorts of things going on, so please follow me along on my journey. But anyway guys, we will see you next time. Take it easy.